14 kilometers. That is all the water between Africa and Europe, the shortest distance between two worlds that exist. Stand on the ferry deck as it crosses, and you can see both shores at once. Europe behind you. Africa ahead. Neither has disappeared yet. Morocco is not a country you simply enter. It is a country assembled from everyone who tried to cross it. Arab armies came in 711 and stayed 3 centuries. Rome planted its flag here before that, then retreated. Phoenicians before Rome. Berbers before all of them, watching the arrivals from the mountains. The French came last and left most recently. Each brought something. Nothing was returned intact. What emerged from these consecutive collisions is not a compromise, a country. We begin where everyone has always begun, at the water's edge, Europe still visible in the mirror, Africa filling the windshield. The road runs south for 3,000 kilometers. It ends where the desert does. The harbor comes first. From above, Tangier is a white city stacked against a hill, pressing itself toward the strait as if trying to get a better look at what's on the other side. The ferries dock below the old Portuguese fortress. They have been docking below it, roughly speaking, for 500 years. Tangier has never been one thing, because too many things have passed through it to allow that. An international zone governed simultaneously by 8 nations between 1923 and 1956. Before that, Spanish Morocco, French protection, Ottoman influence, Portuguese occupation, a Moroccan sultanate. The cafe on the main square plays Andalusian music. The street signs offer their information in Arabic, French, and Spanish. The architecture argues with itself in every direction. Moorish archways leading into Spanish courtyards, opening onto French boulevards. What Tangier teaches, in its first 10 minutes, is that arrival does not mean orientation. The city reserves the right to remain unresolved. At night, from the Casbah walls, you can see the lights of Algeciras on the Spanish coast. 14 kilometers. The same stars fall on both sides of the water. Follow the coast west for 20 minutes, and the continent ends. Cap Spartel is the northwestern tip of Africa. A lighthouse, a bluff, and below it, 2 colors of water pressing against each other. The Atlantic from the left, the Mediterranean from the right. The line between them is visible on calm days, a seam in the surface, one shade darker than the other. The lighthouse was built to warn ships. it has not always succeeded. South from the Cape, the Rif Mountains begin their argument with the coast. The road climbs. Below, the Mediterranean flashes between hillsides. Tétouan was Spain's Morocco, an administrative center, a white Medina laid out with Andalusian precision, the street grid rational in a way that Moroccan cities rarely are. Spain left in 1956. The grammar of the streets remained. The Rif closes around the road. Then the valley opens, and the city at the bottom of it is blue. No one fully agrees on the origin of the blue. Jewish refugees in the 15th century, some say. What's certain? The color does something to light at dawn that photography cannot capture. The walls seem to emit it, not just reflect it. At 5 in the morning, the Medina is empty. Blue staircases descend toward blue doorways set in blue walls, and the whole city holds a silence that feels deliberate, as if Chefchaouen chose quiet the same way it chose its color. The Rif Mountains rise on 3 sides. They have been keeping the world out since the 15th century. They are still working. The blue deepens with altitude. Higher up the hillside, past the Spanish mosque that watches the valley from above, the color becomes something closer to indigo. The stone beneath it is gray limestone. Without the paint, this would be a gray mountain town. The paint makes it a declaration. Chefchaouen was founded in 1471, a Moroccan fortress against Portuguese expansion from the coast. It succeeded. The Portuguese never reached it. The mountain held. For centuries, the city was closed to outsiders. The first European to enter and return was an American journalist in 1883. He described it as a city that had forgotten it was not alone in the world. It no longer has that luxury. By mid-morning, the tour groups arrive and the alleys fill. But for 1 hour, at first light, the blue city belongs entirely to itself. The call to prayer rises over the rooftops. The sound moves through the narrow streets the way water moves, finding every gap, filling every absence. We are in Morocco now. The road south begins. The Medina of Fez does not ease you in. It swallows you at the gate, and the alleyways close behind you. And within 3 minutes, you are genuinely lost in a city of 9,400 streets that has not required a map in 11 centuries, because the people who live here have never needed one. Fez el Bali was founded in 789 AD. Al-Qarawiyyin, the university at its center, has been teaching since 859 AD. It has not stopped. It is the oldest continuously operating university on Earth. The Medina around it has been inhabited, argued in, prayed in, and traded through without interruption since before most European capitals existed. At the tanneries, stand on the terrace above and look down, hundreds of circular stone vats are arranged across the floor of the complex, each filled with a different pigment: ochre, poppy red, saffron, indigo. Workers move between them with bundles of hide, pressing the leather into the color with their feet and hands. The same motion performed in this courtyard since the 12th century. The smell arrives before the image: ammonia and animal fat, and the faint sweetness of pigment warming in the sun. Same coupes, same sequence, same stone pots. From above, it looks like a painter's palette abandoned mid-work. "33 columns, still standing." Volubilis was the empire's southernmost outpost of consequence, a city of 20,000 carved from the edge of the known world. The mosaics are still in the ground, their colors improbable after 2,000 years. Neptune and Bacchus, and the sea that the empire spent its entire existence trying to master. In the nests on top of the columns, storks have been raising their young for as long as anyone has been recording storks. Rome abandoned Volubilis in 285 AD. The mosaics were not consulted. "20 kilometers south, a different empire. The same mistake." Moulay Ismail built Meknes in the 17th century with the explicit intention of constructing something that would last forever. He employed 50,000 Christian slaves. He maintained 30,000 horses. The granaries he built, still standing, half-vaulted, enormous, could feed 12,000 animals for 20 years without resupply. He died in 1727. The court moved to Fez before his body was cold. The gate he built to announce himself, Bab Mansour, remains the most ornate entrance in Morocco. Tile work so dense and precise, it reads from a distance as a single pattern before resolving, close up, into thousands of individual decisions. He built the gate so that forgetting him would require demolishing it. The gate is still being looked at. Marrakesh does not ease you in either, but the mechanism is different from Fez. The Medina here doesn't swallow you in its geometry. It overwhelms you in its volume. The sound arrives first. Vendors, motorbikes, the percussion of a copper beater working somewhere behind a wall you can't see past. The call to prayer unspooling over it all like a thread attempting to hold the noise together. At sunset, Jama el-Fana fills. The square has been operating since at least the 11th century. The name may mean Assembly of the Dead, a reference to public executions once performed here, the heads of criminals displayed on its walls. It is now a UNESCO Intangible Cultural Heritage Site. The reclassification has not noticeably altered the character of the place. From above, at the moment the day shifts, the square breathes. The food stalls ignite their grills simultaneously, and smoke rises from 100 sources into the last of the light. Snake charmers, acrobats, storytellers speaking classical Arabic to circles of men who lean in and laugh at the right moments. All of this has been happening in this square, in this form, for longer than most nations have existed. A boy threads through the crowd carrying a tray of mint tea, moving with the specific competence of someone who has memorized the square's currents. The tray does not spill. It never spills. The Kutubiyya Mosque stands at the edge of the square, its minaret visible from every point in the Medina, because the Medina built itself at a height that would never compete with it. A rule, not a coincidence. Jama el-Fana has always been performed. That is its entire function. The audience changes. The square does not. "50 kilometers south of Marrakesh, the city ends. The Atlas begins. The road climbs through juniper, then oak, then bare rock, then snow. At 2,260 meters, the pass opens and the view changes direction. To the north, the Atlantic watershed, the green valleys, the imperial cities, the Morocco that faces Europe. To the south, the Saharan watershed, the ochre plains, the Morocco that faces Africa. Everything changes on the other side. The Berbers were here before the Arabs arrived in the 7th century, before the Romans reached the plains below, before recorded history decided to record them. The Atlas Mountains kept the successive waves of conquest from arriving too completely, too fast. A geographic insurance policy that the mountain peoples never had to invoke because the mountain invoked it for them. The villages on these slopes are built from the rock of the slopes. Adobe walls the same color as the cliff behind them, the same mineral logic, no material imported from below. The architecture is not designed to blend in. It was never given the option of standing out. From the pass, looking south, the plain falls away toward the desert in gradations of color. Olive to ochre to pale gold to the heat shimmer that makes the horizon uncertain. Somewhere in that uncertainty, 300 kilometers distant, the dunes begin. The air loses its moisture before the valley does. By the time the road levels out, the mountains are behind you, and the sky ahead is a different color than the sky you drove under this morning. The Khazar appears across the river at first light, a city of orange mud towers reflected in water so still it looks poured. The reflection is more precise than the thing itself. For a moment, it is unclear which version is real. Ait Ben Haddou is not a ruin. People still live inside it, in rooms their families have occupied for 1,000 years. It was a waypoint on the caravan route between the Saharan interior and Marrakesh, a place where merchants stopped, rested, paid for the privilege of continuing. The logic was commercial. The architecture that resulted is extraordinary. Filmmakers noticed. Gladiator was filmed here, Lawrence of Arabia, Game of Thrones. The village endures anyway. Cross the river and the walls close around you. Inside, the city is cool and labyrinthine, stairways rising through successive rings of fortification, each level commanding a wider view of the valley below. At the top, the plain spreads south toward the desert, pale and enormous, the anti-Atlas dissolving into haze at the horizon. The caravans stopped coming in the 20th century. The Khazar remained. South of the Khazar, the road enters the Valley of 1,000 Kasbahs, a name that earns itself within the first 10 kilometers. Towers of the same packed earth rise from every ridge, every promontory, every point of advantage over the valley floor. Most are abandoned. Some are half collapsed. A few still fly laundry from their upper windows. The Dra Valley opens below Ouarzazate in a corridor of date palms running south for 200 kilometers, a green argument against the surrounding stone. The road follows the river. The river follows its own ancient logic. At Skoura, an oasis materializes with the abruptness of a conjuring trick. Sudden shade, the sound of irrigation channels, the smell of something living in all that mineral dryness. The road east climbs through switchbacks cut into red rock. 70 million years old, the stone. 60 years old, the road. The difference is legible. "10 meters. That is the width of Todra Gorge at its narrowest point, and 300 meters of vertical limestone rises on either side of it. The river that carved this passage is still here, a shallow stream running along the base, cold enough in summer to surprise you. The gorge took millions of years to open. Standing at the base and looking up at the strip of sky between the walls, one feels less like a visitor than like an interruption, something the gorge is tolerating briefly before returning to its original business. Climbers leave chalk marks on the lower faces. The limestone does not acknowledge them. Then the road flattens, the gorges fall away, the mountains step back, and the desert begins. Most people picture the Sahara as an ocean of dunes. The dunes exist. Erg Chebi rises nearly 150 meters from the flat Hamada, sculpted daily by wind that never stops, its crests reshaping overnight into new geometries. A camel caravan moves along the base at sunrise, the silhouettes so precise they look like a stamp rather than a photograph. Then the camera rises, and the dune field extends in both directions for 30 kilometers, and the caravan becomes something too small to quantify. But the Sahara is also gravel plains and black volcanic hamada and silence with a texture to it. 9 million square kilometers. This is one corner. The dunes are not ancient. They are not stable. They are the Sahara in the act of becoming. Always moving, always reforming, the same sand in perpetual circulation. At night, far from any city, the sky above the Sahara contains more stars than most people believe actually exist. There is no artificial light for 200 kilometers in any direction. The dunes hold the heat of the day long after dark, and if you press your hand into the sand 20 centimeters down, it is warm, the way an animal is warm. Morocco, stripped to its oldest face, looks like this. The road descends from the anti-Atlas. The air changes. Salt. Then the Sound. Then the Atlantic. Enormous and gray-blue and indifferent. Agadir was destroyed in 60 seconds on the night of February 29, 1960. An earthquake measuring 5.8 on the Richter scale collapsed the city so completely that 15,000 people died in under a minute. The city was rebuilt in 18 months on the same bay. The bay is the same bay it has always been. The city occupying it is 64 years old. At the north end of the bay, the ruins of the Agadir Ufela Kasbah sit on the hill above the port, the remaining wall bearing an Arabic inscription installed after the earthquake. God, country, king. Below it, the new city continues its business of being a city that chose to survive. Inland from the coast, between Agadir and Essaouira, the Argan trees begin. They are thorny, ancient, slow-growing. Some of them 200 years old, each one producing a crop that requires months of hand processing to convert into oil. They grow only here, in a 2.5 million hectare belt of southwestern Morocco that UNESCO has designated a biosphere reserve. The goats have always climbed them. This is not a figure of speech. The goats of the Sousse Plain scale the Argan trees to reach the fruit in the upper branches, standing in the canopy with the composure of animals that have resolved the relevant question, whether trees are for climbing, and moved on. 3 meters off the ground, balanced on branches the width of a wrist, they graze with the unhurried concentration of any grazing animal anywhere, except that they are in a tree. The local Berber cooperatives collect the nuts and press them by hand into argan oil. The process has not been mechanized. The method that works is the one that has always worked. On the ramparts, the wind is constant. It is always constant here, a structural feature of the place rather than a weather condition. And the trees that grow behind the walls lean permanently eastward, shaped by what they have spent their lives resisting. Essaouira has been, in sequence, a Phoenician trading post, a Roman outpost, a Portuguese fortress they called Mogador, a Moroccan city, a French protectorate. Each civilization built their walls against the same wind. Each wall was eventually absorbed into the next. The blue fishing boats in the harbor are painted the same blue as Chefchaoun's walls, though no one planned this correspondence. Both are simply the color that Moroccan blue is, when left to its own logic. Gnawa musicians play at the edge of the Medina in the evenings, a tradition carried here by enslaved West Africans along the trans-Saharan caravan routes centuries ago. The music they brought became part of the city. The city absorbed it the way the city absorbs everything, without negotiation, without announcement, without losing anything in the process. The name Essaouira means the little rampart. Every empire that built here understood that the fundamental problem was the wind, and that the fundamental response was walls. The walls are still here. The sun drops into the Atlantic. The ramparts go dark. The wind, as always, keeps moving south. The road beyond Essaouira thins. The history gets quieter. South of here, the country runs out of things to carry. South of Agadir, the road loses the argument with civilization and admits where it is going. The tourist infrastructure thins. The towns become smaller, then intermittent. The Atlantic is always to the right, invisible behind cliffs, audible anyway. A low frequency that vibrates in the sternum rather than the ear. At Legzira, the cliffs open, and two arches of red rock stand in the surf, carved by the sea over geological time into shapes that seem designed rather than eroded. The stone is ferruginous, iron red, almost Martian, against the gray-green Atlantic below. The larger arch fell in 2016. The sea had been working on it for longer than recorded history. The remaining arch stands. It will not stand indefinitely. The sea does not preserve. It edits. This coast was never meant for lingering. It was meant for passing through. The same logic that organized everything north of here, replayed at the edge of territory that gets thinner and less certain the further south the road descends. The territory changes its name here without the map agreeing with itself about what to call it. Western Sahara is administered by Morocco and claimed by the Sahrawi people and listed by the United Nations under a category called non-self-governing territories, which is a bureaucratic term for a question that has not yet been answered. Morocco administers it. The Sahrawi people claim it. The United Nations has been preparing to resolve this since 1991. The lagoon at Dakhla does not appear to be waiting. 45 kilometers long, pressed between a narrow peninsula and the open Atlantic, it is turquoise in the way that tropical water is turquoise. The color produced by specific conditions of depth and sand and light working together. On one side of the peninsula, kite surfers lean into wind that blows 300 days a year. On the other, Saharan dunes descend to the waterline as if the desert has been trying to reach the ocean all along, and here, finally, found it. The road ends at the south end of town. Not dramatically. There is no gate, no monument, no ceremony. The tarmac simply runs out. Beyond it, the sand continues south through Mauritania and then Mali, and then countries whose names change with the governments. The desert does not recognize any of these distinctions. Morocco ends here, not because the landscape demands it, but because someone, at some point, drew a line. The wind keeps moving. It will be moving long after the line is forgotten. The strait looks different from the Moroccan side. From the ferry deck going north, Europe assembles itself from the distance, the familiar geometry of a coast that believes it is the destination. It is not the destination. It was always the departure point. The ferry makes this crossing in 45 minutes. It has made it in various forms for thousands of years. Morocco did not follow those who crossed it. It remained, and made something from all of them that belonged to none of them. Not a crossroads, a country. 14 kilometers. It has always been exactly that.